Okay. All right, guys. So welcome back. I have a great video for you guys on this beautiful, happy Easter Sunday. It's going to be on how to create your first MQL5 trading bot. This is going to be a simple one. It's going to be a simple one based on the small moving average. Essentially buying a trade when it's over the small moving average and selling a trade when it's below the small moving average. I'm going to show you how to completely create it and back test it, and you'll see how profitable it will be at the end. Now, if you want to see a more full in-depth video, I dropped one in my community where it's an actual profitable EA strategy that's fully automated and everything. If you want to see how that's built, join the Algo World community. It's going to be linked below. Check it out there. I actually dropped that video earlier today, but I decided to drop this one too as just a follow-up for most people who are new to MQL5 programming and trading scripts in general. All right, so let's get straight into it. Now, very quickly, when I'm looking this way, I'm actually looking at my monitor. This is actually my computer. So my laptop is here, my monitor is here. So you see me looking over here, I'm looking at my monitor. All right. So first thing we got to do is we got to go into our VPS. If you don't have VPS, then you really can't run trading scripts. Well, you could run trading scripts, but it won't be automated because you're going to be dependent on your computer being awake. I have a video on how to set up AWS to create your own VPS. I'm not using AWS. I'm actually using another program that I actually showed to my students in the Algorithm community again. So if you want to watch that, join the community and I'll show you how to set it up. It's a lot cheaper than AWS, but you can use AWS as another backup source if you don't want to join the community. It's okay. All right, so I'm going to join my virtual private server here. Open that up here. Let me go back a little bit. As you can see, right, let me just delete these. My virtual private server is actually in Windows. You see my regular system is Mac, but then my virtual private server is Windows. First thing I'm gonna do is go to Meta Editor 5. That is where you write all of your EA trading scripts with MQL5. When I'm in here, I'm gonna click New. I'm gonna create an Expert Advisor template. Click Next, I'm gonna give it a name, call it SMA test. Next. These are some built-in functions that MetaTrader can actually do for you, but I'm not going to use any of them. I'm going to make this super simple. There it is. I'm going to expand this a little bit. All right. All right. Properties are simply what you're going to see when you run your expert advisor. Let me just show that real quick. Well, this is MetaTrader 5. I'm going to pick a random advisor. Actually, I'm going to pick one of my other ones that I actually created. Let's do crossover. This is a crossover one. As you can see, it's telling me the name of the expert advisor and the copyright, what's owned for it. These are exactly the properties that are set here. All right. Except this one is saying MQL5 in actual default, but I can change this like I changed the other one to my company name. You don't need this. You could honestly, this is just like, again, for purposes of when people are using your EA. So like exactly here, like if I want people to see it, and I also have it linked off to my, well, sorry, this is the wrong one, but this one has, I typically can have it linked off to my business website by simply changing the link here to my business website if I wanted to, but sure, why not? Let's just do that real quick, just to make it simple. There it is, business website, copy, go back, and then I'll paste that there. Cool, perfect. Version 1.0. Okay, let's keep it like that. All right. Now, this is how you create comments. I showed it in my last video on MQL5. You don't need any of those comments here. I was going to give you guys a run through of the structure a little bit. Those comments are by default put in here. There are three main functions. If you don't understand a function, MQL5, please watch that first video. You will not understand most of this if you did not watch that first video on basic data structures and data types of MQL5, all right? So these are the three main functions. On init means when you start the MQL5 EA. On dinit is the reverse when you close the actual EA trading bot, meaning when you deactivate it. On tick is the main one that we always will use. This is the baby right here. This is the one that you should focus most of your attention on. The rest of the other two are necessary for more extensive programs, which we're going to see later on. Especially if in the algorithm community, you're going to see me use the other two as I'm building out my zone recovery EA. That's a very bigger program, very bigger trading bot. So I'm going to be using the two more often. But for just this simple one, we're just going to use the on tick. Let me show you what on init means. It just means initialization. So when I pull it over here and I click OK, it's been initialized. When I go over to it, click it, remove, it's been deinitialized. That's simply what on init and deinit means. Very simple. All right. We don't need them, but I'll just delete the deinit. No, we don't need this either. I get rid of both of them because we're not going to be actually using them. We're just going to be using the on tick in this point. All right. So first, let's set up the import. Always use some comments, imports. Now I'm just saying import because if you are used to Python, you already understand this. So what we're going to do is hashtag, and this is how you include. And what we need to include is the trade library. Close that off. That's how we include imports. Now, if you want to know where the trade library is, go to include, go to trade, is this file right here. And this allows us to create buy and sell signals. Well, it allows us to create a buy and sell syntax. And the way we're going to do that is calling ctrade, which is coming from that library. And we're going to call a variable called trade. So ctrade comes from here, and this is trade. We're going to use this later on to buy and sell, to create our buys and sells, right? Next thing, we've got to set up a global variable. And global variables are outside of functions. That way we can call them within any function that we create. Please note that, those three variables that the three functions I showed before are the default ones. You can add any additional functions down here or down here. It doesn't really matter. Let's put that there. And you'll see me do that if you join my community and see me build out bigger, more extensive EAs. You're going to see me create my other functions down here. But these are just those three where there's the default ones, right? Even when we set up, we saw that when we started when we created new, when we click new, and we did expert advisor template, I'm just going to show you guys here. These are some other functions that can be put here if you wanted to call them there, but we're not using that. But those are some other functions that are pre-built within MetaTrader. But I just wanted to show you that a little bit. Now, for global variables, I just want to create one for the SMA value. Why do I have my cap lock on? So it's going to be integer, it's going to be SMA, and I'm going to do the 20-day SMA. So it's a whole number. Again, if you watch the first video, you understand why I put int. It stands for whole numbers. So this variable is going to hold a whole number, and the whole number is 20. It doesn't have any decimal points, so it's not a float variable. Right? Now, I need to get the bid and ask prices. All right. And those are going to be float values. Now, let me show you why they're float values. So you can see this is the bid, this is the ask. They are 0.66, 0.66. Those are both float values because they're not a whole number. It's not a whole one. It's a decimal point and then extra numbers. That is called a float value. And again, if you missed the previous video on data types, then you understand float values we use with the double data type, which actually holds float values, all right? So double, and because asking bid and ask are both float values, I'm gonna actually have to use double to hold the ask values. All right, so double ask, which is gonna be the variable called ask, we're gonna hold the variable, we're gonna hold the ask values. Now we're gonna call normalized double, and this is just to smooth out the actual values that we're gonna get for the ask price. All right, now we're gonna use, all right, we're gonna use symbol. I'm actually just missing a parenthesis right there. Symbol just means whatever chart you're currently on, it's going to pick up whatever chart you're currently on for any indice or any pair that you're on. So if you go here, this is Aussie USD. So it's just going to pick that up automatically. If I switch charts to Audi Japan, Japanese yen, it will automatically pick that up. So I don't have to hard code the symbol. I could hard code a symbol and just put like AUD, USD if I wanted to, but if I just want it to be just applies to any symbol that any chart that I'm on, I'll just put symbol. That's our pre-built function by MQL5. Check out their pre-built functions. Very helpful when it comes to this stuff, right? Actually, I think I jumped ahead a little bit. Actually, no, I got to do symbol info. I got to actually get the information first. Apologies for that. And that's going to take the symbol. All right, let's make sure that one. Okay, I don't need this one. All right. And it's going to take in symbol ask. That's the ask value. And lastly, it's going to, I need to return them into numerical values. So that's all these digits, right? And you close this off with good old colons. All right, so let's copy this. And we're going to paste it. We're going to do the same thing for the bid price. Symbol bid. All right. Now let's just make sure I put a comment in here. Ask and bid prices. Bid nav values. Cool. Cool. Next thing we need to do, use the MQL rates. And this is where we're going to then store these actual values here. I don't know why I keep looking at my monitor. You guys are right here. But what I'm going to call this is price info. All right. And we're going to make this an empty array. Now, whenever we have to, anytime we're calling any specific values, we need to store them within an array if we're going to do any type of analysis with them. So for this script, we're going to be comparing the SMA values to the price values. And that's why I have price info here, because we're going to store the price info here. And we're also going to need to create an empty array for SMA. Unfortunately, SMA is not an MQL rates value data type. It's actually going to be a double data type. So that's the reason why I would normally just add them next to each other, but because they're two different data types, I can. All right, let's close that off. All right, now let's get the price data. So integer price data. Going to make that equals copy rates. Symbol name. That's what we're going to do, the symbol. Good again. So it's telling you everything you need. So next is period. We're going to do period. Oh, no, that's not the period. Next is the start position is going to be 0. So when you're doing programming, 0 stands for 1. So the first position in any index in programming, any program language, is always going to be at the 0 index. So 0 stands for 1. Next, the integer counts, we're just going to put it at, actually, no, we're going to put it at 3. And then we're going to then dump these values into this empty array. So this is how we're going to get the price data, and we're going to dump it into this array, right? So when we put a comment above, get price information, I should get price data. Get price data and dump into array. Actually, we can dump into price info array. All right. And make sure I do this. All right. So we're almost done here, guys. It's going to be a few more. Let's create a string value. And this is going to be for our signals. Signal So it's going to be an empty. See when that happens. It's going to be an empty value. So first, let me show you something real quick. This is a global variable because it's outside of a function, and I can actually call it in any function I call here. This is actually going to be called a local variable, and I can only call it within this function called onTick. So this is actually, let's put that here, local variable to this function. Just not know. So actually see that I'm making it empty because we're going to actually create a buy and sell signal. So for right now, I just want to create that local variable, and we're going to add in the buy and sell based on the parameters that we set, which we're about to set right now. All right. Now let's get, well, let's do SMA array. So similar to how we did pricing for up here, we're going to do it for the SMA as well. So first we're going to create a double variable. So you see what I mean? This was the MQL rates variable, MQL rates array, but this one is going to be a double array because the SMA values are going to be, again, it's going to be float values. So we do SMA array, and similar to what we did up there, it's going to be an empty array, and we're going to like dump in the values now. So int, so just like we did with the price data, int SMA data. It's going to equal, and it has a pre-built function. The great thing is that MQL5 has a pre-built function for moving averages. So IMA, and what that's going to take, same thing, is going to take in the symbol. Again, you could hard code the symbol, or you could just put the symbol variable there. So you can just literally copy from above here. And now it's asking for the int MA period. I want you guys to pay attention to that. Again, we actually created it up here as a global variable. So we can refer to the IMA period to the global variable, or we can just hard code it in as 20. But just in case we want to change this later on, we're just going to make this SMA. That way, anytime we change this value up here, we'll also change that here. So if we want to change the SMA period from 20 to 10 or whatever, we can change this number to that number, right? Next is asking for the MA shift. So we're going to put 0. No, we don't really want to shift there. Now we're going to do mode. It has one right there, SMA. And lastly, we want to just use the price closes, price close. We want to get the SMA for that. We can literally choose any of these here, but we're just going to do the close because we typically always do. Anytime you're using indicators, you always want to use the price close anyway. All right. All right. So next, what's next now? All right. So now we need to initialize this. So see how we use copy rates to get the data and throw it into the array? We have the data here. We need to throw it into this array. So we use what's called copy buffer. Get used to copy buffer if you use indicators. You're going to use it a lot. This is typically used for every array, right? So let's see. Okay, SMA data. So we need SMA data. So we're taking the information from there. We then need to see int buffer number. So just always put 0 values for that. Put a 0 value for starting position. That means first. And lastly, what we're going to do here, int count. Let's do 1. Those are just some typical values you're going to use. And now we're just saying where we want to dump it. I'm going to dump it into the array we created here. So it's SMA. Right, there we go. Make sure you close that off. All right, now let's get down to creating the signals. SMA array. SMA, making sure I put that there so I don't get confused. Let's compile this real quick. Okay, this is good. Now I have a habit of not compiling my MQL code and always end up with like a bunch of errors. So like I just wanted to do that real quick. All right. Signals. And like I said, if you saw my Twitter post, I said this too, like if else statements are like the bread and butter of MQL trading bot scripts. Get very familiar with this. So if, let's see, if price, where is it? What is that array? Sorry, I gotta remember what that array is called. Price, no, price info. Info, and so we always want to use the last values. So if you know how to do indexing, so say this is the current bar. This is at index 0. Like remember, I said it always starts off from 0, the first position. If you want to go back, it will be 1, 2, and these are for all the candle bars. So 1, 2. So to figure out if there's a cross, like to figure out if the candle goes above or below the SMA, we need to check the previous bars to see if it actually crossed the SMA. So we got to check the price info for 1, which is the previous candle. If that, we got to choose the close price of that. If that closed higher than the SMA array, the last value of the SMA array, that's typically gonna let you know that that is a buy, and letting you know that it's above the SMA. But we can also double down and create and double up on this if else statement and add another condition and just and. If we do the value before, if we do the price, the bar before, if it's below the SMA, that lets you know that it just crossed the SMA. So if we do like 2 is less than the SMA value. Remember, if you're above the SMA, you're going to be greater than the SMA. That lets you know you crossed the SMA. Now, if you're below it, that means you didn't cross it. So we want to say if the previous bar just crossed the SMA and the bar before that was just below it, that means that we just went above the SMA. That's just double assurance. And we know that this is a buy. And just like that, we're going to put, now we're going to call the actual local variable here signal. Equal, and we're going to call it here buy. Jesus Christ, I hate when this happens. And we're going to close that off. Make sure I close that off. Let me compile this. Very Gucci. All right. And we literally can copy this and reverse it. So sell is literally the reverse of this statement here. So let's switch these symbols. All right, let's compile this. Cool. Now let's initiate trade. Trade. All right. And this is where we use another if statement. If signal equals, what's the first thing I'm gonna do? We just do sell. Gotta get used to using the, because again, I'm coming from Python. That's the reason why I'm having such trouble with this. Signal equals sell. And we also got to check if we have any open positions, because we don't want to have 2 positions unless we're doing a zone recovery EA. We're going to talk about later. Positions total. We got to make sure we have no open positions. So if it's sell and position total is less than 1, which is 0, then now we can create a trade. So this is where we use the trade variable. Remember I talked about it above here, this trade variable here. We're going to call it now. Trade dot trade dot sell. There we go. Now we can choose, now we have to choose the size of the lot size. So there's different lot size. There's a 0.1, there's a 1 lot size, there's a 0.1, there's a 0, there's a 0.01. So we're gonna do, actually let's do 0.01. You can increase that as you guys go. You can even create a global variable too. If you want to put the lot size here, you can create a global variable that says lot size, and then call it here. So you can do that if you want to. That makes it easier. So you can always play around with this program. Do anything that you feel is necessary. All right. For the string value, we ask for a string value, so we put null. We put bid. Now this is where we're going to use the bid price. And now it's asking for the stop loss. If you have no stop loss, you can add a stop loss if you want to here, but we're going to leave that empty here. Let me see. Let's want to see what they said next. Take profit. Now to take profit, we're going to create this syntax here. It's going to be the bid minus 150 times point. So this is going to be a stop loss that's based on the current bid price. Simple syntax to understand that. And literally just put no. It's literally telling you to put no to it. That's a funny thing. Now let's compile this. This is good. Let's copy this and do the same thing, but this time we're going to switch out ask. Actually, that's wrong. It's not all caps. Ask. And these take profit is going to be ask, but plus. And it's not sell. It's buy. And it's not sell. It's buy. All right, let's compile this. Okay, we're all good now. SMA test, it's there. All right, so now let's go to, let's go here. Let's go to the MetaTrader 5. Take out some stuff. Take some stuff from the view. All right. All right, now let's do strategy tester. Put that strategy tester here. Strategy tester, we're going to go to the script that we just created. Where is it? Here. Okay, let me refresh this. So right click expert advisor, click refresh. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. There it is. SMA test. Let's do US 30. You could pick the ticker. And this is us back testing it to see if it's profitable or not. Let's do 5 day. Let's do, 5 minute. And we're going to do custom period. I'm gonna do the 1st and 9th. Let's just see if it's valuable and then click start. And now we're back testing to see if it's gonna be profitable. I think it was done already. It's not done. Oh, that's done. Let me start that again. Something's wrong here. Let's go to the script. It's good pretty much here. Let's see if I'll do, let's do last month. Okay, figured it out. All right, so this value here, it was a 1. The int count needs to be 3 to account for most of the data that we have coming for the SMA data source here. That was what was kind of causing delay. Compiling now. All right, so now that you did that, I like to always refresh. Go back here, the US 35 minutes. Let's start the back test. So back test results. All right, so net profit is $205. Gross loss was 127. Gross profit was 332. And it even shows you on this chart how it actually went, the buys and sells, buys, sells. That's what the blue is and the red is. So yeah, that's generally it. Please double check this video again. Make sure you check through everything. Make sure you double check all the scripts and double check the back test too. And if you guys want to learn more about how to build some more EAs like this, and scale them up and build some more advanced from like my zone recovery, of course, join Algo World, link below if you want to learn this stuff. Otherwise, thank you for watching the video. See you guys in the next one. Peace.